Hi, greetings on this Tuesday. I am waiting for someone on Hampstead Heath, and I thought I'd do a little herb story about hawthorn because it's the Mayflower and it's blooming everywhere. And yeah, so here goes. So here we have hawthorn, and these are kind of like hedges of hawthorn. And then here we have a tree, and you can see the flowers, and it's just blooming everywhere at the moment. And here are the leaves, which have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lobes with tooth areas. And here's the flower, and it comes in different colours, like it comes in pinks and reds. And the botanical name for hawthorn is Cratigus, and Kratos means strength, so it relates to it being a strength-giving plant. And the botanical names of different species include Crategus oxyacantha, Cratigus labiagata, and Cratigus monogyna. And I think if hawthorn could talk to you, it would say, "What can I do for you?" Because it's one of those herbs that's quite safe, and it's quite useful for most people. And it's a herb that I kind of recommend people to take as a tonic as they age, as they get older, to sort of help them through the stresses of life and to support them through sort of aging processes on the cardiovascular system. So the key words I'd like you to remember about hawthorn is heart medicine, high blood pressure and high cholesterol. It's in the rose family, and it is what's called in botany a sort of hermaphrodite plant. It's got male and female parts in the flower. It's also called the May flower because it flowers in May. It also flowers in December. It's got a lot of folklore. It's said to be protected by the wee folk, by the Celts, and that means if it's protected by the wee folk and the fairies, that you mustn't cut it down. And this plant can take you to the fairy realm. It's called hawthorn, and the haw is the berries, and the thorns, here's a thorn. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see, there's a thorn, I don't know if you can see it. And the archetype, it's an archetypal plant of Mars in certain ways because of the thorns. And when the haws come, the berries, they're bright red, which is an archetype of Mars. And martial plants are, so Mars as a planet is an iron-rich planet and a kind of feisty, angry planet. So this plant can be used for like red conditions, feisty, angry conditions, feisty, angry people. And it's also a remedy, a flower remedy for those who need to learn how to receive love and for self-acceptance of yourself. It's made into tinctures, wines, cheeses, vinegars. I think in Ireland it was called bread and butter, and they'd put the leaves into sandwiches. It can be used as a flower essence, as I just mentioned, and distilled in water. It's been used in fertility spells. The thorns have been used as pins. It's been used for chastity. It's said that Jesus' crown was made of hawthorn, of the actual thorns, and when it's burnt, the wood makes the hottest firewood out of all the woods. It's also a remedy that's used in veterinary medicine, and particularly for dogs. And the parts used are the leaves, the flowers, and the berries most popularly, and in some traditional medicine also the bark. Its actions are a heart restorer and protector, a coronary artery dilator, a diuretic, a mild sedative, a cholesterol solvent, and it's got a term called, in studies it's been tested for its properties on the heart, and it's called positively inotropic, which means it helps the force of contraction of the heart. In Chinese medicine, it's called shanja, and it replenishes blood and qi. It's sweet and it's sour. It relieves food stagnation and is used for cold people, for yin excess and yang deficiency. And it's been said to clear something that's called heart phlegm, which is a sort of anxious state where insomnia, anxiety and confusion happens from, being so anxious. I'm just going to taste a leaf. The baby leaves are actually really soft and really pleasing. I know that they're very rich in chemicals called flavonoids, and so are the berries, and these chemicals include quercetin and polyphenols and tannins, and the leaves were once used as an adulterant for ordinary bog standard tea, Camellia sinensis. The plant contains vitamin B1, calcium and iron, which is very kind of archetypal of a Martian plant. The berries, seeds and the bark contain a cyanide-like component called a cyanogenic glycoside called amygdalin or B17, and that causes apoptosis in cancer cells, but it's also a toxin and can make you quite sick. But traditionally, I know that Culpeper talked about the seeds being dried and ground down and then prepared in wine to clear stones of the body. So I assume that's kidney stones. I'm not sure if it's gallbladder stones or what kind of stones. It's got an anticoagulant chemical in it called Crategus, which is a coumarin, and coumarins tend to be anticoagulant in nature. So the indications of this herb or by a herbalist are for the promotion of health and longevity, for the protection from coronary heart disease, for myocarditis, for thrombosis, for hypertrophy of the heart, for Buerger's disease, hypertension, for people who are knackered or are like they do heavy manual labour and they're exhausted in their body from doing it, for heart failure, for heart, I use it alongside heart damaging drugs. So, many patients that I've worked with or people that I've worked with going through cancer treatment for HER2 positive breast cancer, often on drugs like Herceptin or cyclophosphamide, which damage heart tissue. I'll use this plant alongside that to help with the anxiety of the treatment and to protect the heart. It's also quite good for people on tamoxifen. It's also used for skin conditions that are red and angry, and boils that are linked to having poor circulation. That's often seen in lots of metabolic syndromes like chronic diabetes. It's also used for hyperactivity, where anxiety and confusion is involved. Flowers, something quite interesting is the flowers have a chemical in them called trimethylamine, which like when you smell a flower and you expect a beautiful fragrance, this is not one of them. It's been compared to the smell of rotting flesh and the smell of semen, and it's also been compared to the smell of the plague at the times of the plague. And I think the plant generates a smell to attract certain kinds of pollinators and flies. I assume that's the reason why. Yeah, I think that's enough for today on Cratigus. Oh, actually, let me talk a bit about the energetics of the plant. So, so because it's like, as I said, it's a plant of Mars. Um, it has the characteristics of red berries, which is associated with red blood. It's ruled by Aries and Scorpio, and transforms fiery energy and your thoughts into actions. Um, Mars is also a secondary ruler of the heart. The plant has been called drying. The leaves are very drying and astringent, but the berries can be considered moistening and cooling.